Thank you for watching the Andy's Randomness channel. Please feel free to like and subscribe and to follow Andy's Randomness on Twitter and Instagram at Andy's Randomness.
Hello everyone, today is Thursday, March 30th, 2023, and today officially begins the full 162 game Major League Baseball schedule. Now, I'm going to give my thoughts on how the season's going to play out, and I'm going to get into, of course, the 3 wildcard teams as usual, divisional winners. So without further ado, I'm going to go with who I think will be the number 1 seed in Major League Baseball for the American League. And I'm going to go with the obvious. I think it's going to be the Yankees. Now, last season, the Yankees came off a 99-win season, made it to the American League Championship Series, but got embarrassed by the eventual World Series champion Houston Astros. Now, there's definitely a lot of good depth on this Yankee team. The catching is going to be top-notch. You got Trevino and Higashioka. Anthony Rizzo is staying. And this is going to be the first season that Aaron Judge is the captain of the team after he broke Roger Maris's 1961 record. Most home runs hit by an American League player. So, of course, it had to be done by a Yankee. And we never thought that record would be broken, but Aaron Judge did it last season. Infield depth besides Anthony Rizzo, you got DJ LeMahieu and Gleyber Torres. Third base is very good. And the shortstop depth is excellent, because now you got the call-up of minor leaguer Anthony Volpe. You got Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. So it definitely makes a lot of excitement. There's no question about that. And what I'm pretty excited to see is what's going to happen with Estevan Voriel. Now that Harrison Bader is going to be out for a while, you can't put Giancarlo Stanton back in the outfield. He's adjusted to the DH role very, very well. He loves playing DH. I don't know how Aaron Boone can adjust that, but we'll see how things go. Because, again, it's a 162 game schedule. You can always play around with it. Now, the only problem for the Yankees going into the season is their starting rotation. And the problem is you don't really have that many pitchers available. And that's going to be an issue. So right now, if you really look at it, it's Garrett Cole, it's Nestor Cortez, it's Domingo Germán, Clark Schmidt. I don't know. I mean, this pitching rotation's kind of iffy because Rondon, we don't know what's going to happen with him. Retroactive to earlier this week. That's going to be an issue right there. Severino. Lateral strain. The Yankees' rotation needs to be healthy. And then Montas, right shoulder injury. So that makes things a little bit of an issue right there. And then the bullpen. The Yankees really had a good setup guy last season, Tommy Kahnle. And now the Yankees don't have a good... The only option they're going to have right now is Wandy Peralta as a setup before Clay Holmes comes in. And Clay Holmes last year proved himself as a closer. So, is he going to lead the American League in saves? That's going to be a question when I talk about the Guardians coming up. So, we'll get to the Guardians as we go along here. But, Yankees, I don't know how many wins they're going to get. Can they get 99 wins again? It's certainly possible with the American League. Who knows? Maybe they get to 100 wins this season. But again, the pitching has got to be solved. You got to have Kahnle back. You got to have Trevino back in the bullpen. The Yankees can get that figured out. Then they're definitely going to be a competitive team this season. And more importantly, again, Bader's got to come back too. If you don't have Harrison Bader, then, that's just an issue right there. Okay, so now we're going to go to the defending World Series champions, Houston Astros. Now, let's get into the recap of the Astros from last year, of course. Astros finished with 106 wins, won the World Series last season, and we're going to get into their depth chart. Now, there's a major injury for this Astros team, and, well, a couple major injuries that we are going to get into. So let's go into the obvious. Jose Altuve. This is going to be a problem for the Astros. Jose Altuve is going to be out the first 2 months of the season. So this is why I'm not sold on the Astros winning the division, and why I think there's going to be one team that has a good chance to do it. And no, it's not the Angels. And I'll go into the reason why as we go along here. So Altuve has a thumb injury. That's a problem playing the infield. Michael Brantley, injured. He may not come back to the end of the month. Lance McCullers, you lose Justin Verlander. How does that help your case trying to win back-to-back World Series championships? You have Rafael Montero. Don't get me wrong, he's a good closer, but I'm not sold on the bullpen. The only good players you got, Candy is still going to be the catcher. And I'm talking about Martin Mondolano. They call him Candy. Jose Abreu, okay. He can get you a couple home runs. Alex Bregman, okay. Jeremy Pena, Yordan Alvarez. I don't know. I mean, this is a decent lineup, but again, if you don't have Lance McCullers as your ace, because again, Justin Verlander left the team in the offseason, I don't know. I'm not sold on Houston. I'm just not sold on them winning the division right now. And, why are you bashing the Anaheim Angels? And I'll go into that in just a second on why I don't think Anaheim has a good chance to win the division. I'm sorry, but the Angels, I'm not sold on them. I'm just not as we go along here. So what about Anaheim? You may be wondering, why aren't I sold on them? Well, let's go into the obvious. They always have injury problems. Mike Trout always seems to get hurt. That's one issue. Pitching. I'm not sold on Anaheim's pitching outside of Ohtani. No. Good for Shohei to win the World Baseball Classic, but I'm not sold on Anaheim. No. Anthony Rendon, Brandon Drury. Oh yeah, you don't have Jared Walsh? How long Jared Walsh is going to be out? We don't know how long he's going to be out. David Fletcher, Hunter Renfroe, I don't know. I mean, the pitching is the problem. I'm just not sold on their pitching. Tucker David, I'm not. No. So, what I'm going to do is go into my pick on who I think will win the American League West with the 90-plus win season. And you're going to call me crazy. You're going to think, oh, why are you picking this team? Why do you think this team so-and-so has a good chance? I think the team that's going to win the American League West this season will be the Seattle Mariners. Yes, call me crazy, but here's why I think I'm sold on Seattle winning the American League West this year. All right? So, let's go into the depth chart. So, they had a pretty decent team. I'm sold on their infield. I like Ty France. I like Colton Wong. I like Eugenio Suarez. I like J.P. Crawford. Jared Kelnick. The main star of this team that I think is going to carry them, and just like last year, Julio Rodriguez. And I think he can be an MVP candidate this year. Sort of like Aaron Judge for the Yankees. And what I'm sold about the Mariners is their pitching. I think their pitching's pretty good. I think with Luis Castillo, Robbie Ray, you got Marco Gonzalez. Hang on, there's something on Marco. Yeah. That's the issue. I don't think he's going to make the starting rotation. But Flexen will, Kirby will, and then Gilbert will. So they got a pretty decent rotation. For 3, 4, 5 starters. You don't want to ask for that many wins, but, if the team can carry enough runs, then yeah. Paul Sewell, he proved himself last year as a closer. He was able to help the Mariners out get 90 wins. I think the way things are going to look up, I think this is how I'm going to put it. So as a safe bet, I'm going to give the Yankees a win range from 98 to 103. How about that? Let's put them there. Mariners, I'm going to give them a win total of 95 games. Astros will get the first wild card somewhere in that 90-plus win category. I think the Stros can overcome it, but the Mariners, I think, can figure it out. I think they will this year. So I'm sold on the Mariners. They've built their team up, and I think they can win the division. Are they going to, be like the Yankees and the Guardians? Not so much. Now we're going to get into the Cleveland Guardians. Now, hear me out about the Guardians. And why I think they got a good chance to be a team that can actually compete for a World Series this year. I really think they got a good chance. I really do. And I think they got a pretty good chance to win 95 plus games this year. They're in a pretty bad division. All right? And they got a pretty good depth chart. They definitely do. You got Josh Bell, Andres Jimenez, Jose Ramirez. You got Ahmed Rosario. You got Steve Kwan. You got Miles Straw, Oscar Gonzalez, Josh Naylor, Shane Bieber, Kyle Control. The only issue it's going to be is Morris and McKenzie. Now, you got to have Tristan McKenzie back because he was another reason why the Guardians were carried very well last season. So, 2 months, that's going to be a problem. Hopefully they can figure it out. But when McKenzie comes back, that's going to be a team you don't want to mess around with, the Cleveland. And then Cody Morris, I don't know how I feel about that. Emmanuel Clace, he's a star when it comes to that closer role. So the Guardians can be a 95-plus win team and even be the second seed and, go from there. And then maybe Seattle and Houston battle it out. But I still think the Mariners have a good chance to win their division this year. I just think they do. I think they can figure it out. But the problem is, again, if people think Anaheim's going to be a competitive team, I'm sorry. But only way Anaheim competes is if you have Trout healthy, and then things just got to go right in Anaheim. If they don't, then you're not going to have a competitive team over there. All right. So now let's figure out the other wild cards. I'm going to go with the Astros as a safe pick as a 1. All right. Who do I think is going to be the other 2 wild cards? So I'm going to go with a safe pick, and I'm going to go with the Toronto Blue Jays. So why do I think Toronto has a good chance to make it as a wild card? Well, last year they had a good season with 92 wins. But the problem is the bullpen's been iffy. They just got Chad Green, and Chad Green is going to be out for 2 months. That's not going to be a big issue there. What I think what will go right, you got Vlad Guerrero Jr., you got Chapman, you got Whit Merrifield, okay? Santiago Espinal, you got Bo Bichette, George Springer, Kevin Kiermaier, Brandon Belt's their DH. And, the starting rotation's not that bad, but the only issue is Ryu. What's the issue with Ryu this year? I'm just figuring it out. They don't mention anything here, but just want to see what the issue is with Ryu. Let's see what I can pull anything up on him. Let's see. So, this is a problem. Ryu may not even come back until the middle of the season. Oh boy, you gotta have Ryu back. I mean, if you don't have Ryu, then how do you expect to make a run? Because Toronto can do it. I'm not saying they can, but they could. You got Jordan Romano. So, yeah, again, I think the Blue Jays do have a good chance here to definitely be a wild card team. Now, let me get into why Tampa. I don't think the Rays have a good chance of being a wild card. I'm sorry. I'm just not sold on them this year. So I'm gonna go with one team I think has a good chance. So let's organize it here. Let's go to Tampa. And let's go to the Twins. First up, Tampa Bay Rays. Why do I think Tampa will not make the playoffs? Well, there's been a problem with Brandon Lowe. He's had a pretty bad spring. That's a problem. I just am not sold on this lineup. No, I'm not sold on this Tampa Bay Rays lineup. No, I'm not. No. I just don't see Tampa being a team that's worthy of a wild card. So why do I think it's going to be the Twins who will get the third wild card? I think they're hungry. Christian Vázquez, okay, he's a pretty good closer. Only thing is with Kirchhoff, maybe he will be the regular first baseman a couple weeks. Other issue is Jorge Polanco. Hopefully he comes back. I'm sold on the third base position. It could be played around with. You got Carlos Correa. He's staying in Minnesota. You got Joey Gallo in the outfield. Mike Taylor. You got Max Kepler. The DH depth is pretty good. The starting rotation can be pretty good. You got Pablo Lopez, Sonny Gray. Only thing is with Chris Paddock. See, that's a problem. So, yeah. Closer role, I'm pretty excited to see what Jorge Lopez can do. Pretty excited. So, I'm sold on Minnesota getting that third wild card spot. I just don't see Tampa somehow getting back in the playoffs. I'm not sold on it. So, that's the problem for Paddock. Is he going to get Tommy John? Oh, okay, here we go. So he's coming off Tommy John, and Paddock's looking to come back. Look, if Paddock can come back in the second half and Minnesota is still a competitive team, then yeah, I don't see why not the Twins can make the wild card spot. Again, it's not a good division. You can win that wild card spot with 80 plus wins, 80 plus wins, because White Sox aren't going to be competitive. Royals are not going to be competitive. So, I'm not completely sold. Oh, and don't forget the Tigers. They're not going to be competitive either. I don't see the Tigers being a competitive team. They don't have the pitching. They don't have that. Oh, because we got Miguel Cabrera. Yeah, you don't have anything in Detroit. You don't. So I'm sorry, but why not Minnesota? Why not the Twins? Because Correa's going to hit a bunch of home runs this season. I could see it happening. Okay, so now we're done with the American League. Let's go to the National League. And let me go to my obvious picks for divisional winners. Despite not having Edwin Diaz, I still think the New York Mets are going to be a 95-plus win team. And you know why I think the Mets are going to definitely be a 95-plus win team this year? You got a pretty good lineup. I mean, the catching depth, you can go back between Omar Narvaez, Tomas Nido, Pete Alonso's playing first base, Jeff McNeil's playing second. The third base position is going to be, playable with Guillorme and Escobar. I think they sent Batty down to the minors. You got Francisco Lindor. There's a lot of hype towards him. The outfield depth's pretty good. And look, Daniel Vogelback's back as the DH. And then look, this is what the pitching rotation's going to be. You got Scherzer. Justin Verlander just came to New York. They got an international player named Kodai Senga who pitched really well in Japan. And the Mets have a lot of high hopes for him. Carlos Carrasco and then David Peterson. And Quintanilla, well, he's going to be out for a while. So, the Mets right now want to use David Robertson as the closer. And I think that's a good move because David Robertson did prove himself with the Phillies last season. So, the Mets did bring him in. The Mets were able to work something out with him. He's now a Met. And I think Robertson can be a good closer. I certainly would hope that maybe a miracle can happen with Edwin Diaz, but I don't know. I mean, he injured himself pretty bad in the World Baseball Classic, so that's going to be an issue right there. Now, the setup, you got Adam Ottavino, and he could be a pretty good setup guy for David Robertson. So you got two former New York Yankees in the bullpen. The rest of the bullpen, it's a little bit iffy. You got Tommy Hunter, Brooks Rowley, Drew Smith. I don't know. I mean, the rest of this Mets bullpen does not impress me as much. But Ottavino and Robertson are going to be the ones you got to keep an eye on. The Mets are going to be a pretty competitive team. 95-plus wins. I don't think they're going to be the number one overall team in the National League. I think they're going to win the division for the first time since 2015. I think they're capable of it, but that's not my number one team. No, I think I have a good cut number one team in the National League. You're going to call me crazy for saying this. The San Diego Padres. I'm going to go with the San Diego Padres to win the National League West. And there are a lot of people who've had the same mindset about the Padres. A lot of sports writers are sold on the Padres. And I think I'm sold on the Padres because look at their lineup. Okay, Fernando Tatis Jr. is not going to come back. In fact, when does his suspension end? See, that's what I want to find out. Because once he comes back, I mean, if he can be the same player he was, I mean, look out. The Padres are going to be a pretty dangerous team. Okay, here we go. Let's see what we got. See, look at that. He's doing pretty good. So, is he eligible to come back? Let me Google it. I'm pretty curious. Maybe we can come back to it. Okay, so it looks like he is ready to come back. So let me read this article from MLB.com pretty quickly. Because I want to see... Yes, okay, here's the plan. Okay, here we go. So Tatis will not be back until April 20th. So it's not going to be that bad. He's only going to be out a couple of weeks. So they'll figure it out. I mean, you could put Matt Carpenter and Nelson Cruz in the outfield. I don't know. But look at their pitching. I mean, look at their pitching. Let's see. Yeah, Musgrove's going to come back in April too. So that's good news for them. So you got Darvish, Musgrove, Snell. The Padres are going to experiment with Lugo in the rotation. Nick Martinez. And then Michael Wacha. So not a bad rotation. Not a bad rotation. Now, in terms of Robert Suarez, their main setup guy, that's going to be an issue. And then Pomeranz, I don't know. I mean, I'm still sold on their lineup. I think they got a better lineup than the Dodgers do this year. Yes, okay. So no word on Suarez. So that's going to be an issue. I don't know. That's going to be a big problem. Okay? Let me go to the Dodgers and why I think they're going to be a wild card. And yes, I think the Dodgers still have that type of team that's still going to be competitive. And the reason why I just don't think the Dodgers have the same magic like they've had in years past, I'm not sold on most of the lineup. I'm not impressed. You got Will Smith, Freddie Freeman, Muncy, Rojas, Peralta, Mookie. It's the pitching. Look, if I don't know what the situation is with Walker Buehler, but the problem is you need Buehler. If you don't have Buehler, then, how does that help your case to win the division? That's a problem. We don't know if Walker's coming back. If you don't have Walker Buehler, then who are you going to really rely on? You're going to rely on Noah Syndergaard? Are you going to rely on Julio Urias? I mean, yeah, you got Clayton Kershaw. Don't get me wrong here, but the Dodgers have mentioned that they're going to go with Urias as their opening day starter. Daniel Hudson, injured. So, yeah, guys, I don't know. I mean, I'm not sold on the Dodgers winning their division. I really think they're going to be a wild card team this year. And I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but again, I think the Padres can even get to that 100 win mark. I think they're capable of doing it, but again, if you're going to look at teams that have a good chance to win the National League right now, I think it's going to be the Mets and the Padres who are the top two contenders in terms of, their daily lineup and their pitching. I just think they're the two teams that a lot of people think that can, go from there. Do apologize. I wanted to get back to the rosters because we're going to get into the Central Division. So, we're going to get to the Central, and then I'll just pick my other wild card. So, again, Dodgers are going to be my first wild card. Let's go to the National League Central. Okay, here we go. All right, so let's quickly go through this. So I'm impressed by the Cardinals. I think Tommy Edman can prove himself. But here's the thing. Pitching-wise, Adam Wainwright. Here's your problem. Groin strain. That's an issue. He may not be back till May. So, let me look at the Brewers. Let me see here. I don't know. As a safe pick, this is what I'm going to do. All right? This is what I think I'm going to do here. So, I think what I'm going to do is put a safe bet and say the Braves get a wild card. Just because I think the Braves will figure it out. Look at their lineup. I mean, you got Sean Murphy, you got Darno, you got Olson, you got Riley, Arca, Rosario. You know, they got a better depth for that wild card. So I'm going to go with the Braves as a wild card. Phillies, I'm not sold on Philadelphia to come back. It's not the same team as last year. I just don't see that kind of magic. Bryce Harper has injury issues. Ranger Suarez in the rotation, so I don't know. And then you lose Noah Syndergaard. You're going to experiment with Craig Kimbrell? No, I'm just not sold on it. See, I don't know. But I think the Braves will figure it out more than the Phillies will this year. Something just tells me it. And then, you know what? I'm sold on the Cardinals. So put St. Louis as my winner of the Central. 80-plus win team. Not a good division this year. So I'll go with the St. Louis Cardinals to win the National League Central. And then wild cards, I'm going to go Dodgers, and I'm going to go with the Braves. So this is how I think the free wild cards will end up. Dodgers, Braves, and then my third wild card, if I really had to pick it right now, I'm going to go with the Phillies for now. Maybe the Brewers, I don't know. I'm very iffy on it. Okay, so that's going to conclude my predictions for the 2023 season. Just to quickly summarize it, I just think right now, if you're going to look at the American League, you got to put the Yankees as the tight team. This is like their World Series or bust team this year. They have to do it. They have the rotation. They have the lineup. The Yankees have got to go to the World Series this year. It's a given. If it's not the Yankees, then I'm more sold on Cleveland doing it. National League, again, it's going to be the Mets or the Padres who come out of it. And that's all I'm going to say. So, opening day is here. Let's see how this season ends up. Because I don't know if Judge is going to repeat as home run champion again. And National League-wise, I think we're going to have a pitching duel between Scherzer and Verlander for wins, strikeouts, and ERA. They're both on the same team. I think it's going to happen. So that's it, guys. Thank you all for watching. Enjoy opening day today. And until the next one, please take care.